Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's Dukes and Bell. Hey, man, we got a big show today coming off of the coaching news yesterday, and everybody was freaking out, including Mike and I at the end of the show yesterday. We're on at 2 today. Tomorrow, we're live from the Atlanta Boat Show, so make sure you come out if you're going to be out there checking things out. It's one of my favorite shows of the year to see all the new boats and all the things that are going on with technology. But we'll be doing the show from 2 to 6. And down at the Georgia World Congress Center tomorrow. And also tomorrow, we want to mention we will have plenty of Arthur Blank's comments as he will have his official presser. This is the first time we will have heard from the owner since the firing of the general manager and Terry Fontenot and, of course, Raheem Morris. So we do not think, based on the information, Mike, we now know that there will be any introduction of anyone tomorrow.
Right.
But that could come maybe over the weekend, maybe, as soon as next week. But right now, that's not going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, again, guys, even for the Matt Ryan's presumed taking over as team president, that's a job opening that has to follow the Rooney Rule procedures and protocols. So they got to do their due diligence in that department before Matt could be announced. I think a lot of Falcon fans just figure out who's going to have Matt with them on Thursday. As Carl said, that's not going to be the case. This will be a lot of the media going, I know one question I have is, did Sportology specifically tell you to fire the general manager and the head coach? So we'll see if we get some answers on some of that. But as we said, now we're sort of turning the page. And when the news broke about John Harbaugh, I mean, it was like a lightning rod. Today at the gym, I had a real quick sidebar, Carl. I got to tell you, a buddy of ours, Mitch, big listener, I'm in the middle of a set, and he comes, I'm rubbed up to you, he goes, sorry to bother you, Mike, but too late. No way on Stefanski. He goes, no way on Stefanski. I'm like, okay. He goes, why do people like Stefanski? I said, I think they think he's a good offensive mind who's just been a victim of the circumstances in Cleveland. Bad GM, bad owner. But he and that's at least one Falcon fan that was all in for Harbaugh because he thinks Harbaugh brings stability and resets.
Well, look, Harbaugh above everybody else. We'd be idiots to not believe that. What we don't know, and this is something that we're going to get into today, is what is Harbaugh looking for? Because as much as we think we are an attractive job, and I do feel that way, and I'm talking about the Falcons, we have the foundation to win this division. We are in win now mode. This is not wait until 5 years. But what is he looking for? What are his parameters? And, to hear this news, and I did some calls. I really haven't heard back from a few people I reached out to today. I'm waiting to hear back, and maybe I'll have more information on the show today. But to hear this news about, he was not willing to get rid of Todd Monken, and he wanted to stand on that, may have cost him his job. And if that is the case, I love it because Harbaugh is a guy with clout. He's a Super Bowl champion. He built that thing from nothing. And if he decided that, this is not going to help me get to where I need to be by firing another coordinator, because you guys don't think whatever, he's not communicating or he's not helping Lamar. Because today, Mike and Day-Day, the reports are now the Ravens want to hire a coach who invigorates Lamar. And I'm like, okay, so you're taking shots. What you're saying is that the OC and Todd Monken didn't do enough of that. Although this dude won 2 freaking MVPs under Todd Monken, should have won a third. So, Mike, I don't understand that whole notion about, this is the kind of coach the Ravens are looking for. I think Harbaugh told him to kiss his ass. I'm not firing my OC.
Right.
And if it means me losing my job, I'm cool with it. And I think that may have been a part of it. But there are some other things that are underlying here, too, that they're going to come out over the next day or so with why this all went down. Because, again, a lot of people did not see this coming. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Well, 2 things, Day-Day, real quick. The Mike Preston article from the Baltimore Sun a few weeks ago before the playoffs, basically saying that, they got to move on from Lamar. There's a ceiling with Lamar. They have to coddle Lamar. Practice is built around Lamar because he stays up late playing video games. A lot of this stuff was a little bit of hyperbole, but either way, yeah, it's a tough spot. I mean, Jim Mora coddled Mike Vick. We later found out. It's sometimes you acquiesce to the superstar. And then we all know how that turned out. But in the case of Lamar Jackson, look, he needs some I think he needs some tough love, and I don't know if the new coach comes in. If you bring another coach to come in and kiss his butt, I don't think that gets the job done. I do think right now there's a ceiling with Lamar Jackson unless things change. We all know what he's capable of. And he nearly won that game this last game against the Steelers. He did everything he possibly could. But he hadn't been able to stay healthy.
I don't know.
He also fumbles and turns it over too much.
Yeah, but look, that's the other night. Nobody can blame Lamar for losing that football game. Matter of fact, he carried them.
That's what I said. That's what I'm saying. He did everything possible to win that game. And Harbaugh gets fired because your field goal kicker can't make a bunny. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it just seems like 18 years in one place. Denny Green said 10 years in one city is too often.
Yeah.
So maybe familiarity breeds some contempt.
I agree with that. It's Dukes and Bell, guys. This is our Behind the Curtain show as we discuss the hottest coaching candidate now on the market, and that is John Harbaugh. There's no question about it. I don't care what you think about all these other guys. I don't care about youth and all that stuff. He will have his pick of these jobs. Dede, what's your take on all of this with Harbaugh?
Man, first of all, I love him as a coach. I would love for him to come to Atlanta. But to your point about some of the different reports that are starting to come out, there's the one this morning that Josina Anderson puts out stating that, which, I wasn't shocked to hear this, that there's a good strong possibility Todd Monken would follow Harbaugh wherever he goes, assuming he doesn't want to stick around with whoever the new head coach is going to be with the Ravens. But then she noted that, but from what she's understanding, whatever the quarterback situation at that destination would play a big role in them deciding on if that's where they want to go. So then immediately I was like, well, damn. We don't really know what our quarterback situation is.
Do we have an unattractive quarterback situation? Right.
Right. Does that mean he wouldn't even consider Atlanta, or, would he be okay with considering Atlanta? I would love him. I think, and I've heard all the different sides. Clint Kubiak, I get it. Looking for that next type of Sean McVay, young guy that can be here 10 years and really, build that culture. I'm not saying that couldn't be the case with him, but when you take what Steve Weiss said yesterday, and which I know we're going to have him on the show today, about how this roster really is already built, with the exception of the quarterback position, got to figure out how 2026 will start off in that regard. But when you look at all the talent on both sides of the roster, and you bring in someone established like John Harbaugh, and the history and what he's done with the talent he's had, to me it's a win-win. But now it's just a matter of if those reports are true. And I also saw Tom Pelissero. Can these insiders be on the same page? Because I believe it was Pelissero. He's saying that part of the reason for Harbaugh being outed was he lost the locker room, basically, essentially.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Carl. Maybe, as we said, someplace guys last too long. And so, I don't know, some bad habits creep in. See, just play devil's advocate. Harbaugh has had an amazing run in Baltimore, but is he Mike McCarthy? Mike McCarthy went to Dallas and didn't do anything. I know he helped Dak Prescott, and that's great. They still never got out of the playoffs. That Packers loss sticks in my mind. So there is going to be some folks who feel I'd rather take a Clint Kubiak and hope I catch lightning in a bottle and get that next McVay who's going to be that guy for 15 years with your program. But Harbaugh also brings stability. But then is he now becoming a retread, to Day-Day's point? Because that storyline is going to creep in now.
All right, so here's my issue with that. Arthur Blank has yet to hire an established Super Bowl winning head coach. He hasn't done it. He's always reached for lightning in a bottle. I'm over it. We have a chance to get a guy who's proven. You've never done it, Arthur. And so for me, Mike, here's the other side of this. If I'm Arthur Blank, and this is what sucks about us not having a front office, or at least an semblance of a front office right now. Last night I'm on the phone with his agent, and I said, I'm sending you all the film of our young quarterback, Michael Penix, and I want you to evaluate him. And let his agent know we're willing to make you the highest paid coach in the league. How serious is our owner about freaking winning? Like, forget all this lightning in a bottle crap. I get it. There are some young, exciting candidates out there. But if he hired Harbaugh, nobody would fault our owner for going all in.
Right.
And that is where I'm at.
Right.
I'm tired of taking a risk on a Dan Quinn or even a Smitty who was great. But I don't have to do that with this guy available if I'm serious about
he's there.
trying to bring him.
Yeah. And that's why I'm playing the devil's advocate. I would take Harbaugh in a heartbeat. I'm just telling you, what's been written. I will say this, though. Smitty, we had to Google who Mike Smith was. Nobody even knew who this cat was. And that's arguably the best coach the Falcons have ever had. Just, at the end, it petered out. But getting back to, I'm with Carl. If Harbaugh is not here today, that's the problem, though. We've got this, this nebulous. Arthur says we're going to deconstruct things and build it back up. And now we're going to have 3 layers: a coach, a general manager, a team president, a CEO. I mean, come on. I mean, let's go. I'm with Carl. There's got to be a sense of urgency with getting Harbaugh in to talk to Arthur Blank directly.
And let us say,
do you guys think that?
Go
you
ahead,
think
go
that
ahead.
impacts? I'm just asking you guys both. Do you guys think, because of the fact that now we're looking for this president, then GM, head coach, do you think that impacts someone like Jim Harbaugh? Would he want to know who's going to be above me?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, but it also gives him a chance to come in and direct that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to get a 5-year deal, guys. That's the norm. Hell, Ra got 5 years.
Right.
Arthur Smith got 5 years. He's still paying those guys. It is what it is. He's going to get 5 years, meaning that'll be the contract. Now, if he comes in and loses, he may not get 5 years, but the notion is you're going to come in, you're going to get 5 years. So that's 5 years connected with whoever is these new guys are going to be, right? So maybe it gives him a chance to direct that a little bit, and maybe you trust and lean on his experience. Hell, he's been around the league his entire life. So he knows the ins and outs of who's who and who's what. I think that might be a play, but I don't know, Dede. It's a really good question, man, when you say, does it matter? Or maybe Harbaugh might, to your point, is just at a point where he's like, you know what? I just want to go coach, and you tell me who the GM and the president are going to be, and I'll do my job. I don't know, but I know when guys have been in places that long, it's hard for them to relinquish a little bit of that. But listen, Eric DeCosta was the general manager and the guy that just fired him. He had a guy he answered to with the Ravens for a very long time. And I'm going to tell you, my buddy Jason Lock-on-4 is up there in Baltimore. Eric DeCosta has not been a fan of Lamar Jackson this entire run. Matter of fact, he was the guy that didn't want to pay him. So when that whole thing went down, that was the GM. It wasn't the head coach. And this stuff that you're hearing may be coming from DeCosta and those folks in the front office, because he's been this guy behind the scenes, Mike, trying to do some of the things you're talking about with motivating Lamar. And dude, he's I take a 2-time MVP or 3-time MVP here any day of the week.
Yeah, the problem with Lamar is, like I said, I mean, until he gets the right guy to maybe, I don't know. All we get is what we've read. You talk about maybe losing the locker room. They had a ton of injuries. Ravens were decimated. Their defense was really brutal this year. That's normally their calling card. That wasn't there. But I just felt like, Todd Monken, by the way, for all the things he's done well, forgot about Derrick Henry and some big moments in the playoffs the last couple of years. True. It's not everybody's like bulletproof here. But I just felt with Lamar, if half of the stuff is true that was written in that Baltimore Sun article, they got some issues. The star player has got to take some more leadership, and responsibility, and have a little bit more maturity. You and I debated Lamar going all the way back to the draft class. Yeah. I said you got to take him. Ozzie Newsome said you got to build it around him, but you also got to have some accountability in that program if that's the case.
Yeah, and by the way, I mean, I'm only wondering and interested in what we're going to do here, but I am interested to see what happens with the Ravens, because this could be the moment where Lamar says, hell, I want out too. And he may not stay there. It's Dukes and Bell, guys. It's behind the curtain. Lots of stuff to get to today, but our focus obviously is still here with the Falcons, our owner speaking tomorrow. We're back in studio today. The Trae Young situation, we got to hit on this real quick before we get out of here, and then we'll talk more about it today, starting at 2. Dede, lay out what you told us before we came on today, because you said apparently he wants to go a couple of places, but they don't necessarily want him.
Yeah, according to some reports, he and his team are interested in Minnesota, the T-Wolves, and the Brooklyn Nets. However, they have not expressed any interest in trading for Trae Young. And if we're honest, we really haven't been hearing about anyone expressing any interest in trading for Trae Young outside of what we've heard with the Washington Wizards.
Interesting.
Well, and this gets back to the leverage thing, Carl, we've talked about. No, just the leverage thing with Trae. I mean, do you feel the negative? A 28-year-old guard who is, his shot's not his shot necessarily. It's come down a little bit, the three-point accuracy. Yes. We know he's capable of dropping assists and doing all that, but he's a defensive liability. He's undersized, something you brought up last year, talking about looking at the average size of point guard, specifically in the Eastern Conference right now. So he's got to fit your program. You got to have a bunch of lights-out defenders if he's on the floor. That's become a thing. Trae fans, they put their head in the sand about that, but it's the thing.
Yeah. Look, what may happen here, and we're going to get into this today, there may be a reality check for Trae Young. And the reality check is, I'm a superstar in my mind, and the league goes, no, you're not, because there's not as much value as you thought there was for what you think you are, despite these amazing numbers. His career numbers are sick, guys. 25 and 10. He's one of the highest scoring and assist leaders in NBA history.
Yeah, third all time, right?
Okay,
yeah.
So those numbers are real, but the value and how you're perceived and what you think you can bring to a team is a different deal. So we'll dive into that, man. We got Steve Weiss today, by the way, NFL Network. He'll stop by.
He feels that the Falcons' job is the best job because of the talent we've got and the winnability of the division, Carl.
Yeah, and by the way, the Harbaugh thing I keep seeing or hearing, the Giants. I think we got a better roster than the Giants. I think we're in a better division, easier division than the Giants.
But they got Jackson Dart. And a lot of folks feel that Jackson Dart, with the right coach, is going to be the guy.
They do. Scatterboo's hurt, but he's coming back. We know that.
Right.
But yeah, I just feel like overall. Now, what's crazy is their defensive line earlier in the year. You could have compared it to what we were doing because they have a young, athletic defensive line that gets after it. But I keep hearing this, Harbaugh and the Giants. I'm like, is that an easier position? You're beating the Eagles every year.
Right. You got to get Abdul Carter's get screwed on straight, right? There's a lot of issues. There's some issues in that squad. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, if I'm him, I'm thinking about all that. All right, guys. Stooks and Bell. Big O's not here, but he'll be on the show today. Day. We're coming to you at 2:00 today, live from the studio, and we got a lot, man. So make sure you're there here on Dukes and Bell starting at 2.